hadn't studied something in college, then there's a pretty good chance that he'd read a couple books about it, and maybe seen some documentaries, and certainly enough to speak knowledgeably about just about anything. And in fact, about a week or two before he died, I visited him, and I asked him about a book on his coffee table, The Peloponnesian War. Remember it from college. He said he was rereading all the literature that he'd been given as his coursework during college. That was so typical. He was reading for the sake of improving his mind, just because he had this voracious thirst for knowledge. In fact, I have a couple of his books next to my bed that he asked me to read. I promise I'll get to them someday. They're gathering dust right now. With Mike's wide-ranging knowledge, a conversation that started out about maybe hunting might turn into a conversation about cooking. From there, it might turn into a conversation about restaurants, anthropology, art, history, literature. It could go anywhere. The breadth of his knowledge was just stunning, and his ability to recall pretty much everything was really amazing. I think everybody here has had the experience of knowing that Mike is really a talker, I guess is what I would call it. But what impressed me most about Mike, I think, was his presence, that he had that dramatic persona, that some people have that quality. When they walk into a room, they kind of become the center of attention. And when they clear their throat, people stop and listen, because usually whatever comes out of his mouth is something worth listening to. And Mike was one of those people. He could charm people if he wanted to. He could be gruff, he could be crude, he could be funny, he could be goofy, he could be witty and insightful. He was all those things at once. But I think one of his most essential qualities was really his optimism. He was eternally optimistic, and sometimes optimistic kind of in the face of a lot of difficulties that he had with his health in particular. He was not easily discouraged. His perseverance was really inspiring to, I think, everybody who knew him. And speaking of not being easily discouraged, that brings me to the subject of our hunting trips. Mike and I took a lot of trips together over the years, supposedly for the purpose of hunting. We went to Faraway Farm, and we went to my cabin up north. There's a place here that he liked in St. Cloud, and he was a member of the Parcel Hunt Club in Prior Lake. And we were always supposedly looking for deer, birds, and fish sometimes. We hardly ever found any birds, deer, or fish, but that never daunted us. Because the real purpose of these trips was really just to get outside and do something fun and talk, because that was what Mike was like most of all, was talking. And gradually over the last decade or so, I think the thought started to enter my head that I was going to outlive Mike. And I don't know exactly when that thought occurred to me, but it kind of became apparent that his health was failing. And he would rally for a while, and you won't know this, and then he would be back in the hospital, or something else would break. And we kind of all knew, without really thinking about it,
became friendly discussing business, and over time became friends and confidants. In a person's life, I believe we meet a few people who influence us or have an impact on our lives. I can say that Mike truly enriched my life. We discussed everything from the most heart-wrenching experience in our lives to the stupidest things we could have ever done. He could bring up the most disgusting things I've ever heard, and we would end up laughing until I cried. We never discussed mundane topics. We didn't discuss things like sports or weather, which I do with most people about sports. I have no idea if he even likes sports. I do know that he loved his family, the opera, challenging his brain, reading, being creative, and giving him artistic voice to his inner fears and troubles. The most common topic for us during all our discussions was just the philosophy of life. You could look at Michael and see what was going on with him. He tried to cover it up, but his face gave away how he was feeling. Most often, he would get that mischievous glint in his eye and go into some tale of adventure, most likely misadventure. Most of the times, those misadventures involved brothers. We shared a love of materials, steel and metal and stone. He loved gears, wheels, sharp objects, pointy, shiny, polished, rusty, corroded metal. He loved wood and stone. There were times we would go exploring some abandoned building or salvage yard and see what treasures we could find. He could get excited about an old bent piece of metal. And even to this day, every time I see a gear, I think of Michael. It's very difficult to put into words who Michael was. He was intelligent, stubborn, relentless, humble, mischievous, trusting, kind, difficult, caring, creative, and a family man. He was very appreciative of others, especially his family, and Catherine, his ex-wife. No matter what was going on with Michael, he would always ask me what was going on. Not because it was a polite thing to do, because he was truly interested in who I was. He had a way of making me feel like I was important, not only who I was, but that what I had to say meant something. He could be having a very difficult time and still want to hear about my family. He always would end a conversation by saying, "Say hey to Wendy and the kids for me." He was always very complimentary of everybody. He loved his family